All right, fam. NFL preseason wrapping up this week. We've got the regular season right around the corner. I cannot wait for some regular season NFL football. But before we get there, we are tier ranking each NFC team. Going to break this down into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tiers. S tier is going to be teams I think are legitimate Super Bowl contenders. We're going to work our way down. Actually, we'll work our way from F tier to S tier. I'm fired up to get into it. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. So, teams in the F tier for me are pretty clear. We got to start with we'll start with the Commanders. How about that? The Commanders to me are F tier for several reasons. I do not believe in their play caller. I do not believe in their offensive line plan. I do not believe in trading away Jahan Dotson. I do not believe in their defense outside of their interior defensive line, which I do think is perhaps the best in the league after adding Johnny Newton to a core that already featured John Allen and Daron Payne. So just too many questions for me. I don't see the direction of this football team in 2024. I do love Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin, but overall, I think there's too much to overcome. And then you've got the fact that Jaden Daniels runs around like injuries are turned off. I said it earlier this week. He runs around like injuries are turned off in Madden. And you saw him get knocked out of games last year in college football. What's going to happen if he does that in the NFL? He's got to get smarter in that regard. Until I see that, I'm not going to buy it. So Commanders in the bottom tier, Panthers in the bottom tier. Look, I like Dave Canales. I like Bryce Young. I like the direction of the team, but there are still way too many holes, way too many questions after what happened last year. I think I keep calling them Commanders. The Carolina Panthers could move up, but for me, they're squarely in the F tier. And there's one more team in the F tier here for me, and that is the New York Daniel Jones. I don't see it. Daniel Jones, I think, is going to have a really poor season. I know Malik Neighbors is an offensive engine. He absolutely is. But you got rid of Saquon Barkley. You got rid of Xavier McKinney. I know Brian Burns is going to make an impact, but I don't see it. I do not see it for the New York Giants with Daniel Jones at quarterback. D tier. This is a team all by itself, right? That's the New Orleans Saints for me. I want to put them in F tier. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I do not like the plan at quarterback with Derek Carr. I do think it's intriguing. You kind of have a Shanahan-style system coming in with Kubiak, but the defense is aging. I feel like they've got to fall off a cliff at some point. And the most concerning thing is the offensive line. I mean, my goodness. The tackle situation is rough there. It really is. So, Saints all by themselves. C tier, these are some, maybe teams. Buccaneers. I like them a little bit more than their division counterparts in the New Orleans Saints and the Carolina Panthers. Certainly, the Bucs made the playoffs last year, won a playoff game. They're going to be frisky, but they lost Dave Canales to the Panthers. Can Liam Cohen come in and be that guy with Baker Mayfield at quarterback? They certainly have lost some pieces on the defensive side of the ball as well. Maybe. They could make the playoffs again. It's possible. I've also got the Cardinals in this tier. I think the Arizona Cardinals are a team that is going to play downhill football. They're going to run the ball. They're going to come at you, and then Kyler Murray is going to be able to run around back there, play action, passing game. Marvin Harrison Jr., Trey McBride. I like the ancillary pieces there at the receiving core as well. You also added a blocking tight end, so you can really get into that 12 personnel. You're going to get downhill with James Conner with that physical offensive line, with Trey Benson as well. I can see it, and I like the coaching there with Jonathan Gannon in Arizona. I can also see it with the Cowboys. It's a team I'm not in on. I don't think they're going to be a playoff favorite. I think the Eagles are clearly the class of the NFC East. But I think the Cowboys could probably beat up on the Giants, probably beat up on the Commanders. And with Dak Prescott, with CeeDee Lamb, I think they have a chance. Brandon Cooks is still a good player. I question the running game. I question the offensive line decisions. Mike Zimmer comes in. Is he going to be able to get that defense playing how he wants in a reasonable amount of time? You do have some absolute stud edge rushers, right? Micah Parsons is about as good as it gets. DeMarcus Lawrence, still a good football player. You've got some turnover machines in the secondary. But I still have questions about stopping the run. the spine integrity of the Dallas Cowboys defense, running the ball themselves, and the offensive line. So the Cowboys, they've been flirting with not making the playoffs. They've been flirting with being a team that maybe could win a game in the playoffs. I've got them on the outside looking in this year, but they certainly could make it into the playoffs. The Vikings I want to have as a B tier team, but because of the division that they are in, the NFC North, I think it could be the best division in football between them and the AFC North. Those northern teams, unbelievable, right? But the Vikings, I can't buy all the way in on Sam Darnold. I do love Kevin O'Connell, and I like a lot of what they have going on the offense, obviously with Jordan Jefferson and Addison, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, excuse me. And, bringing in Aaron Jones, I like the rest of the backs you have. I think they have a good offensive line. You obviously need to get TJ Hawkinson healthy. Defensively, Brian Flores has more to work with this year, adding Stephon Gilmore, Dallas Turner, Andrew Van Ginkel, Blake Cashman. There's a lot to work with. Obviously, you tragically lost Kyrie Jackson, and then you had the injury to Blackman as well. So the Vikings are right there. But it is hard for me to buy in on Sam Darnold. It is, even with Kevin O'Connell calling the shots and all the good pieces around in Minnesota. Next tier is B tier. I think these teams should be really competing for the playoffs and right there. The Seattle Seahawks, that passing game is going to be a lot of fun. I think that on the defensive side of the ball, obviously their new head coach coming in from Baltimore should be able to get that group going in the right direction. There's a lot of talent in the secondary. There are some talented edge rushers and talented interior defensive linemen on this roster. And I like the addition they made at linebacker as well this offseason. I think they're headed in the right direction. I really do. The Seattle Seahawks are going to be fun. And Geno Smith, one of the best deep ball passers in the game, got great receivers to throw the football to, talented running backs in that backfield. So they're in the B tier. Also in the B tier, joining them, for me, the Chicago Bears. The question is, how quickly can Caleb Williams get there? Because I do believe they have the running game, the receivers, the defense to get it done at a high level. And I think Caleb Williams is quickly going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL with his skill level, attention to detail, talent. He's a special player. He absolutely is for me. Who else is in this tier? The Atlanta Falcons are in the B tier for me. The Falcons, look, Kirk Cousins' health is obviously a huge factor, but I think that they did a really good job adding talent to that defense in the last week. Trading for Matt Judon, signing Justin Simmons. You now have one of the best safety duos in football. You have Raheem Morris, who I think has grown a lot since his last time being a head coach in this league. And I can see it. I can see the offensive line, defensive front. Now that Matt Judon is there, I can see this going very well. Kirk Cousins' health is the biggest factor. He's got weapons, unbelievable offensive weapons. Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson. It's awesome. It is awesome in Atlanta. I'm excited to see that football team this year. And the final team in the B tier here for me is the Los Angeles Rams. There's questions, injuries on the offensive line a little bit. Defensive questions. I love Jared Verse, Braden Fisk. I was huge fans of them in the draft coming out of Florida State, but there's questions on that defensive side of the ball in the secondary. And so as excited as I want to get about them, unbelievable offense when fully healthy. They've been a team that's dealt with injuries. They're a team that lost a lot on defense with losing Aaron Donald, obviously. They're trying to rebuild that side. I still think that they should be in playoff contention and probably should make the playoffs. But there are some questions. And Sean McVay, one of the best to do it. The way he has adjusted his offensive philosophy going downhill, a lot of power running, gap running, building out the interior of that offensive line. It's been fun to see. And then so A tier, I've got two teams in A tier, two teams in S tier. A tier for me is going to be the Philadelphia Eagles. I think they've got professional coaching on both sides of the ball now, even though I'm not a huge fan of Nick Sirianni. They got the professional coaching they need. With Kellen Moore and with Vic Fangio, they're extremely talented on both sides of the ball. Adding Jahan Dotson to the mix only furthers that. Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts, Dallas Goedert. Like, come on. And then defensively, they revamped their secondary. I was really impressed with the way they did that, adding veterans and rookies. The The only real question for me is linebacker, but they probably have enough potential answers to get enough done there with the talent they have up front on the defensive line and in the secondary, combining with that offense and the coaching they'll get from Vic Fangio. And then the Green Bay Packers, I had them ahead of the Lions for a little while this offseason. I want to be there. But because, Jordan Love is so exciting, and Matt LaFleur is an unbelievable coach, head coach and offensive coach, offensive mind in this league. The Packers have been so consistent with him there. But a lot of youth, and I'm starting to feel like I need to see it with the Jeff Hafley defense. I'm starting to feel that way a little bit. So I have them as, Eagles and Packers. Would not be surprised for them to really be contending for the NFC, but just a tier below the Detroit Lions and the San Francisco 49ers, the two teams that did make it to the NFC Championship last year. The Lions, they upgraded their defense in a big way. They added some beef up front. DJ Reader is a very, very talented player when healthy. Davenport, again, when healthy, I think is an upgrade for them. Getting James Houston back, I think, is an underrated storyline. They've upgraded their secondary in a big way throughout the offseason, especially at the corner position. San Francisco 49ers, I don't know what's going to happen with Brandon Ayuk. Trent Williams is quietly also got a contract situation. But until I see any different with Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy and this defense, I still think they're a favorite. All these teams are behind the Chiefs for me in the NFC. The Chiefs, I think, whoever makes it to the Super Bowl is going to have an uphill battle against the Chiefs. If Dre Greenlaw can get healthy at some point for the 49ers, I'd feel much better about their chances. But overall, I still think the Chiefs are the class of this league, and they just added speed and talent on offense. They're going to be tough to beat. Patrick Mahomes and company. But that'll do it here. Really appreciate y'all tuning in to this tier maker edition of NFC Power Ranking Tiers. If y'all enjoy the content, please like, subscribe, hit that notification. Y'all have a good one.